Yo, what up, what up, what up, and welcome back to Pnoid News. Man, listen. All right, yo, it's a good day. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. I got up today, you know what I mean? I made some pork chops and whatnot. You know what I mean? And then I stood here and went out and I walked 2 miles. They got this park by my house where I just moved to like a couple months ago, and like it got like an oval track. You know what I mean? Like, yo, it's a quarter mile around. I did like, you know what I'm saying, fucking 8 laps on that bitch. So like, yo, we getting it done. You know what I mean? Real shit. Still trying to, you know what I mean, maintain that girlish figure, as they say. Right? But today we got a video from Black Pidgeon Speaks. And I'll be honest with you, you know what I'm saying? Like, I like Black Pidgeon Speaks. He's kind of like Storm Cloud's Gathering from back in the day. Right, he came about in a time when YouTube was much more Wild West than it is right now. Like, you know, probably I think the first time like I seen anything from him was probably like 2014, 2015, something like that. And you know, I mean, if anybody knows him, legit get a hold of him because like, yo, we need to educate this dude. You know what I mean? Because legit, he's behind on the times at the moment a little bit. You know what I mean? We'll keep it 100, all right? Because like, this is what happens to a lot of YouTubers. They end up, like, isolating themselves from the rest of us. Like, nobody's ever really spoke to Black Pidgeon Speaks. He's one of these guys who, like, really likes to maintain his anonymity, which is cool. You know what I mean? Like, it's smooth and whatnot. But on the same point, like, it kind of makes you miss out on new information when we're out here kind of passing it around and getting stuff together. So, you know, we're going to stand here. We're going to listen to his video, and we're going to stand here and talk about, like what he's missing. Right, because like I think it's important, you know what I mean, that like, yo, he's got some of the concepts on point, but like he's missing some things. So let's get to it right now.
Now, with the pseudo-religion of woke having taken over most of the institutions in Western nations, such as the controlled media, the legislative and judicial branches of government.
Okay, let's talk about this, right? Because like this is the very, like, I know, like we're like 15 seconds into the video. The Cathedral, all right? That's what we call it now, is the Cathedral. Basically, the premise is that, and this is for everybody who watches Black Pidgeon Speaks and whatnot, you know what I mean, who's coming over here, which, you know, welcome, my brothers, welcome. Right, you know, I mean, believe me, we're not going to contradict what he says, but we got some new terms that y'all need to, you know what I mean, get grasp on, because there's probably concepts that you just haven't heard of yet. You know what I mean? It's all right. You know what I mean? We're going to get you on point. This is from a guy named Curtis Yarvin, who mentions Molebug. He invented the red pill, and he came out with a term called the Cathedral. Basically, what it stands for is academia plus the media. And basically, the premise is this. Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Georgetown. There's one more. I forget the name of it off the top of my head. Right, another college. Basically, they stand here and produce a whole bunch of woke individuals, right? They are leading the progression towards leftism. And as more and more individuals go to colleges, right, they stand here and they pump out their curriculum to all the other little colleges throughout the country. And so as individuals are being taught, you know what I mean, they're being taught this new curriculum by these leftist university individuals. Now, these universities are also producing individuals in the media, right? Which is why, like, the media seems like, you know, it has lost its mind. It has lost touch with the regular people, because it has. You know what I mean? They're all, you know what I mean, academics. And then on top of that, you know what I mean, they stand here and they go into corporate boardrooms, human resources, ad agencies. They go into governments and things of this nature, bureaucrats. Politicians, they're, you know, they're minions or whatever they're called. You know what I'm talking about, like the, you know what I mean, like their little helpers or whatever. Like, all these people are coming out of colleges. So with these individuals, you know, they get their first job and then they work for like 5 years, and then they finally find their place inside of the corporate world. Basically, they're about 5 years behind where the institutions are at that point. But on the same point, it keeps marching left. And it's why it seems like all these places are kind of invaded by woke idealism, right? This is what's known as the Cathedral, right? The Cathedral is what's actually pushing everything to the left. It's kind of like a ministry of truth outside of the government, right? It's a privatized ministry of truth as far as things are concerned. So this is important to understand, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, because when he says the West, what he's talking about is the Cathedral, right? He's trolling the Cathedral. And it's, there's a lot of premises that like, yo, he's missing because he's not talking to the rest of us. You know what I mean? He's not keeping up on point with, you know, what the rest of us are doing. And I wish he would. Like, I want to talk to him. I would like, you know what I mean? Because, like, I would love to have these conversations, or at least bring him into these conversations where we're out here going, hey, look, you know what I mean? This is what's going on. Because I'm assuming, like, BPS probably still watches, like, the same stuff he was watching back in 2016, 2017. And let's be real here. These individuals are not getting it done. You know, so, like, I kind of, like, if anybody can get this to him, legit, like, please get this to this dude. Because, like, I want him to, you know what I mean, like, be on point. Because we all love what he does. Legit. Let's keep rocking.
Big tech, also centers of academia. Well, it's done this. The ideology of woke has done this with all of its attending accoutrements. Those being cognitive dissonance, sheer spite, bile, venom, and yes, rage and hatefulness. So then it would seem that the rapidly changing and very unstable social situations that are percolating in the West, as well as the growth in the internet over the past 20 years, it's very clear that the Taliban have obviously been studying with glee the self-inflicted cultural implosion of its occupiers and have, it would seem, learned the art of trolling and meme warfare.
All right, so let's talk about this too, right? Because this is important to understand. So I actually had an opportunity to talk with a Taliban individual here recently, right? And what you have to understand is that these individuals have been educated in Western style schools, right? And in doing so, they have been exposed to us, right? You know what I mean? Like Discord users and Twitter users and, you know what I mean, guys who are on Gab and like us trolls. They've been exposed to us, right? And in doing so, like they've learned how like things really actually operate. So, and in knowing that, and in the fact that the people who are running out of Afghanistan right now are basically neoliberals who have been sitting here pushing, like, you know, when there's like, oh, the American citizens are trapped in Afghanistan. What is Biden going to do? Yo, I think we should leave them there because, like, legit, bringing them back will make things worse for us, right? yo, fuck those people. Like, legit, because they are literally part of they are the heart of the problem, right? They're the shock troops they're sending over to push feminism and woke ideology and, you know, I mean, gay rights in countries where that's not acceptable to them. You know what I mean? Whether you think it's acceptable to you or not is up to you, right? But the fact that, like, yo, if other cultures decide that that's not what they want, then that's not what they want, right? Like, yo, public decree is public decree, right? Vox populi, vox dei, nigga. You know what I'm saying? The voice of the people is the voice of God, right? You have the right to choose your own destiny in your country and in your community. And if you choose that you want to stand here and go, man, we don't really want to welcome all this trans nonsense and all this, you know what I mean, gender fluidity garbage, right? If that's what you think, then that's your right, right? Like, you have the right to stand here and feel the way you feel and act the way you act. I think that's important to understand. And these people who are over in Taliban, especially, like, you know, these college educated individuals who are educated in the West, right? These Taliban people have been mixing it up with them for 20 years. And they've learned how to troll them. They've learned how to stand here and, you know, like push their buttons as far as stuff's really concerned, right? I mean, you're going to get that after 20 years, man. I'm a minute into this 15-minute video. We're probably not going to get the whole way through this, but legit, yo, just I want to get to where we're getting to.
In fact, according to the Telegraph, the Taliban pledged to be inclusive. And using one of the West's most favorite buzzwords, they pledged to be inclusive for one reason and one reason only: to troll the West. The article continued that, moreover, a few tweets from political leaders, that being Western political leaders, won't change what's happening in Afghanistan, nor will it stop them being the Taliban, laughing at our helpless impotence. And it is.
Yeah, look, I mean, here's the problem, right? Legit. I mean, this is the dilemma. So, all right, the places that we've relied upon to become technologically dominant, right? These colleges, these places of higher learning, right? Or like all of our culture agrees. We go, oh man, we need mathematicians and we need these tech guys and we need this and we need that, right? Like these super like hard science people. It's also it's the problem that's producing all of the issues. right? So what do you do? Right? Do we want to like stand here and go, hey, look, I mean, we are not going to do this anymore. We're not going to fund these soft sciences. We're not going to allow these soft sciences to continue, right? Because that's an anti-liberal ideology, right? You know what I'm saying? Because these are liberal arts individuals that are the problem. Like quite literally, liberalism is the issue, right? But we still want the technical aspect of it. But like the liberal side of it's going to kill us. Right, it's literally like, it's like Tony Stark, like in that fucking movie where like he had that thing in his heart. He's like, oh man, it allows me to be Iron Man and lets my heart beat, but on the same point, it's poisoning me. Right? Like this is an issue that we're not having a conversation about, right? And so we need to have this conversation as a society, as a culture, and decide what it is that we want. As a whole, and that's. We're not able to have a basic conversation about immigration, let alone this as an in general purpose. You know what I'm saying?
Is our current cultural revolution centered on the same values of Maoism, that being the destruction of the four olds, old ideas, old culture, old habits, and old customs, that the Taliban look on in glee at?
Yeah, look, man. All right, I'll be honest with you. All right, like the whole ideology of the four olds thing is. I understand that, like, if you do research, like sometimes you can sit here and come to conclusions that you don't want to come to, right? But BPS knows, right? He knows this, right? Because I've seen his old videos. He knows what this is, right? But he can't say it. So, like, he's trying to adjust his ideology to be able to say something else. And I do the same thing. I got you. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, I know feminism causes, a drop in birth rates, right? Like, we know this for sure, right? But on the same point, I go, all right, well, urbanization causes a drop in birth rates, right? Because it does too, right? Like, urbanization destroys society because, like, you end up not having any kids. And that's a problem when you have a society based off of like societal structures that require more individuals. Like most of your like social programs in any country are going to be a Ponzi scheme. It's basically like where, you have to have more people coming in constantly and contributing, or like it's not going to be viable to be funded. Feel where I'm at, right? So like with that being said, like, you have to have more children. And in not having more children, not going to be able to pay for the social programs long term. You're not going to be able to like stand here and have your military long term growing. Your economy won't be able to grow in long term. Like, there's a whole bunch of issues that this causes, right? Now, this ideology of the four olds, is really like nonsense. What it is, it's feminism, right? Like legit, it's female academics standing here trying to destroy things that keep them complacent, right? And on top of that, if you read Ted Kaczynski put this really well. He said the system's neatest trick is in its way that it takes the individuals who are trying to protest against the system and basically turns them against things that are bad for the system itself, right? So basically, like basically colleges and schools will point you towards racism and homophobia and anti-Semitism or whatever it is, right? And they go, or homophobia, right? And they'll go, these guys here are what you need to protest against. And they go protest against that. But the truth is that's what's good for corporations and the system as a whole, because the more individuals that are welcomed into that system, the better off it is for the system. Right? So, like this whole ideology of the four olds, no. Bad. No, that's not right. Like in general, like, the hell what Mao said, right? Legit, like nobody's doing this because of Maoism, right? Because everybody know Maoism is dumb. Legit. But like on the same, like it's all these societies always come to the same conclusions. It's just they call them different things. It's kind of what it's hitting for. That's basically where we are. Let's keep rocking on.
Our self-inflicted social destruction, and more importantly, the Taliban are now just another in a long line of societies that reject the nature of woke as well as reject the universalism of Western culture. And while they watch us destroy ourselves, they can't help themselves, it would seem, to troll us hard as our culture.
Yo, look. All right. I'm white trash. All right, I'm an Appalachian. So my mentality is that like y'all ain't trolling me because I'm full. I wanted to get out of Afghanistan since like 2002, right? Like I never wanted to go to Afghanistan. I was never pro these wars as a whole, right? Like other than like the first like couple of months until like I got some education about it, right? Like, I tried to sign up for the military when this first happened. I'll be real. Like, I'm white trash. Or I was like, yeah, let's go kill some, Taliban people. But they wouldn't let me in because, like, my arm's all screwed up from football. Right. But, yeah, like, man, listen, like, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, legit, they're not trolling us unless you consider yourself to be part of academia, right? Or you consider yourself to be part of neoliberalism, right? If you consider yourself to be a globalist, then yeah, they're trolling the dog shit out of you, but I'm not, right? I'm not a globalist. Like, I live somewhere, and I like the somewhere where I live, and I'm not going to live anywhere else, and I don't want to live anywhere else, and I don't want anybody coming from somewhere else to live where I live. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what culture's supposed to be, right? But like the ideology of, like this universal fucking culture is dumb, right? Liberalism's stupid as a whole. Enlightenment's dumb just in general. But let's keep rocking.
And civilization begin to circle the drain.
A lot of soul.
It's clear that the Taliban have been watching and learning. As far back as 2018, the group got into a flame war with the United States. Described in Tax and Purpose, one of the best online Twitter trolls isn't a Russian posing as an American political junkie or your crazy uncle with the default egg profile photo. It's a middle-aged dude with a beard and turban whose goal is to retake Afghanistan and implement Sharia law. Yes, the article continues. It turns out that the Taliban, the former Afghan government party turned insurgent group, is pretty good at trolling the United States. When the then...
Let's keep this 100, all right? We're not trolling the United States, okay? Like, the United States shouldn't even be a country. At the end of the day, right? Like, it's a continent. It shouldn't even be we've been over this, right? Legit. We're newbies. Like, United States shouldn't be a country. It should be a continent, right? Like, with the vast amounts of different geographies inside of here and different cultures and regions, like, legit, this should be a bunch of different countries, right? I'm not talking about like 50 different countries. That don't make any sense. But like, it should be a bunch of different countries because everywhere you go inside of the United States is literally a different place. And left to be geographically like isolated for like 10 years or so, like it would develop a culture that literally would, be completely foreign to anybody else around it. And it has been growing that way as a whole. That's why we have a problem of, the bifurcation of, the American public, where you're having the issue of where the city people like are literally hated by everybody else in the country, right? Like the coastal individuals, who live in New York and, LA are hated. Like all of us want literally like if the president came out tomorrow and said they were going to nuke LA and New York, we'd go, thank you. Right? Legit. We can't stand them. Right. And they can't stand us. Like the politicians have literally threatened to nuke like, twice in the past, 2 years, they've threatened to nuke like flyover state people. Right. So it's kind of on that level where this shouldn't be a country anymore. Right. So let's not say like they're standing here trolling the United States. Because, like, number one, they're not trolling them. They're trolling the fucking State Department, which is fucking hilarious, right, to all of us. Because, yo, fuck the State Department. It shouldn't, again, another part of the United States that shouldn't exist as an in general thing. Let's keep rocking, though.
Then NATO Secretary General called on the Taliban to come to the negotiation table. The Taliban responded, quote, "No, it's you who must call for a meeting with our team in Doha to negotiate a NATO exit from Afghanistan," closed quote. And this is what the group tweeted back, even including a frickin' thumbs up emoji and their own hashtag. When
a frickin' thumbs up emoji. Can you, a frickin' thumbs up? I don't understand. Like, what happened to BPS? You know, he used to be so cool and based. Like, what happened to him? Legitimately, like, what happened to him? Like, real shit. Like, yo, we're all kind of proud of the Taliban for what they've done. You know what I mean? Like, they've stood here and broken the back of the neoliberal world order. By the way, that's another part of this. Like, yo, dude, he needs to say neoliberals, right? You need to say it. Like, yo, say the fucking word, legit. Name these people. If you don't name these people, then you won't be able to see them, right? It's a basic ass premise. Like, this is important to understand. Like, this is extremely important. So, like, if you can't see something, if you don't know what it's called, you don't see it, right? Like, if you walk into a room, you know what I'm saying? They got, like, you know, pipes coming out of the ceiling or whatever. Like, you're in an old, like, gymnasium or something, right? You know what I mean? And, like, there's a podium on the stage and there's, you know, like, seats out there for everybody, right? And, like, if you walk in as a normal person, all you see is the seats and the stage and the podium, right? If you walk in as like a plumber and there's pipes there, like, you know what type of pipes they are. They're PVC or they're copper, right? You know what I mean? You know the fall, you know the size, you know the elbows, right? You know, if you walk in as an electrician, you see the lights there, you see the ballast, and you see, you know, what type of bulbs they are and the coverings, right? And you see, like, if you're coming as a painter, you know what paint's on the walls and all these things. If you don't have the vocabulary to explain something, you don't see it. And we need to name these things, right? Like, yo, we have to name them. You can't just, like, use these broad terms like, you know, U.S., right? United States and, you know, like the West, because it's just not a fucking thing. Name the people, the neoliberals, the goddamn Cathedral, and the fucking State Department, right? Name the people, because, like, yo, stop putting it like they're trolling all of us, because all of us do not support the garbage that's going on around the world to promote the fucking U.S. hegemony, right? Sorry. I'll be tripping over my words sometimes. Let's keep rocking, though.
Then American diplomat Alice Wells asked the Taliban, quote, "How will you join this new Afghanistan?" Closed quote. Well, they responded on Twitter, quote, "We promise to give you answers. Don't be afraid. Our team in Doha will not bite." Closed quote.
Again, he used to be so based. Like, legit, used to be so based. Like, legit.
And again, they used a thumbs up emoji and the Taliban hashtag to end the tweet. The United States, at least its government and media, conversely seem to be completely and totally out of its depth in a meme flame war. As recently as June, while the Taliban were already beginning the blitzkrieg that would see them take the entire country in a matter of weeks, the U.S. Embassy in Kabul was posting of its celebration of LGBT Pride Month to a deeply religious and Islamic society. And I'm serious. In fact, the Biden administration had spent 6 months flying LGBTQ flags at embassies across the world, hiring diversity officers, and lecturing a very specific group of Americans on their national and historical guilt as a people. But by August, it would seem that none of this virtue signaling in Central Asia was able to stop the forward march of the Taliban.
Yeah, well, like, yeah, it's gonna like incite them. Like, yeah, they don't like gays, right? They don't like, you know what I'm saying, lettuce, gay, bacon, or tomato. You know what I mean? They're not a fan of it, right? They don't like pork. Like, that's what happens. Like, take that B out of there. You know what I mean? Because, like, you can't be promoting bacon to, like, fucking Muslims and shit. They're not about that bacon life. You know what I mean? Like, I like junior bacon cheeseburgers. I like the Baconator, right? But, like, these guys, you know, they're not about that. You know what I mean? Like, they got a problem with pigs. I don't know what it is. Maybe they had, like, a bad experience with Miss Piggy. You know what I'm saying? Some universal thing when they was kids. I don't know what it is, right? But legit, you know, they don't like pigs. You know what I mean?
Now, to put the current Maoist cultural revolution currently taking place in the United States into perspective, we don't have to go that far back. In 2008, Biden's soon-to-be running mate, Barack Obama, and the former First Lady and future Secretary of State Hillary Clinton were both blunt in what they supposedly believed on the primary campaign trail. And that is that marriage, in their words, was only between a man and a woman. Fast forward only a few years later, and Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton would both be accused of uttering hate speech.
Well, like, yeah, you got to remember, you know what I'm saying? Again, we get back to the cathedral, right? You know, when you have 60% of your population is going to college, right, and the cathedral is educating them in this manner, like, you're going to end up having these type of issues where, you know, they're standing here promoting stuff that a few years ago would just seem absolutely insane, you know, and this is the natural progression of what happens when you allow academia to basically take over your country, because everybody has been trained in their thought pattern.
And this is indicative of the Maoist transformation of the United States, as it has been breathtaking in its speed as well as its scope. The country transforms its supposed fundamental beliefs as often as most people change their underwear. America is in a state of flux, tearing down every pillar of the country and every pillar that the country was built upon, and will soon reach its foundation. And I have no doubt that these same devotees to woke will work tirelessly to destroy that said foundation. In contrast, the Taliban, on the other hand, are fervent in their belief that they are following an eternal strict code of life that extends into all realms, from military, banking, social, and hygiene, as well as all points in between, including the temporal and religious, and that this form of social organization is based on the Sharia, which was created and guided by the literal word of God, Allah, in the Quran, and the actions of the Prophet Muhammad as recounted in the 4 trusted hadiths. Thus, the constant virtue signaling, the word salad pronouncements by woke acolytes in the media, State Department, and the military of supposed fundamental American beliefs. Well, these beliefs have extremely shallow roots, most less than a decade at best. And these values have zero meaning to a group that believe that they are adhering to and following the eternal path set out for humanity by its creator.
Well, like, again, you know what I'm saying, when we get back to the cathedral is really what it is, this religion of wokeism, right? And we've been trying to, like, come up with a better term. Like, we came up with pragmaticism, right, which is progressive dogmaticism. Like, it's basically, its tenets aren't a decade old. Its tenets are 100 years old, right? You know, I mean, hundreds of years old, really. Because you can go back to, like, the founding of the United States, where, you know, they sat here and said that all men are created equal. And that's complete and utter horseshit, because, you know, I could find you 2 men right now, you know, I mean, just randomly walking down the street and show you how they are unequal as human beings. You know, just, it's how things work. But basically what it is it is the progressive wing of the Protestant church, right? That basically has shirked off God and become a religion without a God as a whole, right? Like, we don't have a word for it. You know, I mean, this is why, like, we're calling it pragmaticism, because, like, we've got to create a new word for this. It is a religion, right? And its tenets were formed long ago, right? Because, like, you know, like they say Michelangelo was a homosexual, you know what I'm saying? And, like, Leonardo da Vinci, and, like, throughout time, like, a lot of these intellectuals are homos, right? And, you know, the idea that everybody should be equal as men, you know, I mean, this type of shit, we're tenants of this ideology long before, you know, I mean, like, it has recently creeped up. Like, FDR's vice president, I forget his name, Henry something, whatever his name was. He stood here and literally he like ran under the progressive banner. So did Theodore Roosevelt, right? And they have the same core tenets, you know, I mean, be it in, like, way less, you know what I mean? Like, it's not quite as strong back then, but it's still the same core tenets that they're, you know what I mean, trying to push today, right? These are the ideas of academia. These are the ideas of, you know what I'm saying, intelligentsia as a whole, you know, because they have these grand, broad ideas. And these grand, broad ideas are very attractive to highly intelligent people, right? Because usually highly intelligent people like the ideology of having something that would require massive amount of power to be put in the hands of people who are intellectually superior to, you know what I mean, the average, you know, the average Joe citizen, you know, Joe six pack, whatever, right? So, like, these ideas are ones that catch on quicker, whether or not they make sense, right? Because traditional ideas, like, they make way more sense than these ridiculous things that these progressives push, right? But the ideas that catch waves inside of academia and the government and the media, right, are ideas that are big and broad because it requires a lot of power, right? And these powerful ideas are very attractive to people who are highly intelligent. Highly intelligent people love the idea of standing here and, you know, like changing things in a very fundamental way. So understand something, like, this isn't Maoism, right? This is the Cathedral, right? And this is pragmaticism, right? This is a religion without a God. It's something that people don't really understand fully because it hasn't really been researched, because it's literally an idea about the individuals who are supposed to be doing the research. So outside of that, we're over here doing our own research. And, you know, we're going to be working on this little by little and, like, trying to, like, name it as a whole. So anyway, yo, look, man, this is going to be like a half hour, you know, so, like, I'm gonna shut this down. It is what it is. Yo, look, I'm Tom Pease with Pnoid News. Y'all know the deal. Like, share, and subscribe, man. I'm gonna holla at y'all motherfuckers. Peace be like one. Make sure you hit that Patreon and subscribe on Streamlabs in the description. You know, join Discord, everything. Peace.